Check, 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 check.
I'm not ready yet.
Aaron's here too.
Yeah, no, I already said hi to Aaron. Okay, just give me 1 second, okay?
Hello, 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 hello.
It sounds good.
Okay.
Hey, there he is. How you doing, man? Sasha, with me. Yeah, close stuff. That's close. That's close. Cool, man. Put your yeah, good to see you.
Oh, that guy. I want to be that guy.
How long have you been here? Pass these out for Q&A, these extra mics.
We're gonna do Q&A after the guest speakers.
Should I?
So I'll ask. Well, you'll hear me talk about it.
You're gonna say something that I'll do the video?
Huh?
You're gonna say something that I'll do the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I'm just gonna go right there. I think. Yeah.
Turn it a little bit.
Huh? No. Hold on, Joe. Hold on, Joe. Not yet. Okay.
You guys say something?
Huh? No, just play it. Is it loud enough?
People are all talking.
Huh?
People are all talking.
That's okay. Look. Wait.
Where do you want me hanging out?
So, huh? Wait.
do you want me right now?
How loud is the volume?
I'm gonna adjust one.
Oh, just hand it down.
So just sit down over there until
Yep.
you call me up.
Yep. How loud is the volume?
It's what we just did. We tested it.
Then I guess just play it.
Hi.
Yes.
Yeah. Hello. How are you? Thanks for coming.
Nervous or what?
Yes. Hold on, I can't talk right now. I'll talk in a second.
Okay, I'm gonna get.
Yes. Okay.
You might want to turn it up now.
Turn it up.
At the poverty line or below. Why are artists 3 times more likely to suffer mental health issues, including unaliving themselves? Why are the heads of business and big tech aggressively pursuing AI?
Shit. Oh, shit. I lost the letter.
Here's why. The current system is not built for artists.
Oh, God.
It was built for top artists. But guess what? This doesn't have to be the case because we believe music can still be a source of liberation. We believe in justice and fair wages for artists. We believe musicians and their art should be protected at all costs. Because when artists prosper, culture thrives. Join us.
Hello everybody. Sorry to interrupt your networking. Welcome. I am going to start the talking portion of our night. So happy to see so many of you here. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming. I am really just inspired by seeing so many people who support music in this room and creation. My name is Lauren Bruno. For those of you that do know me, because I see some familiar faces in here, some of you may know me as the nonprofit director of $3 Shows, an organization that connects the arts community with the social issues community. Some of you may know me as a musician and a performer in Austin. Some of you may know me as a mom. Some of you may know me as a connector of art and activism. Hold on. Oop. Sorry. One moment. I tried to memorize my speech, but it didn't really work out. You can do it. Yeah, amazing.
Keep it up.
Maybe we have crossed paths through Solstice Live, a music tech platform that connected artists with venues, or maybe you know me as a mother or a Crohn's disease survivor, or maybe I'm lucky to know you, or maybe I'm just meeting you tonight. If you know me, though, you know my story is rooted in music, community, artist empowerment, and creative survival. And if you don't know me, that's okay too. I am so happy you're here, and it's so great to meet all of you. Like many of you, who's artists in here, by the way? Can I see a show of hands? Wow, okay. So like many of you, I came up chasing dreams with nothing but a voice and a vision. When I moved to Austin, I didn't just want to create, I wanted to connect. I became a nonprofit director to begin to build platforms that united artists with social justice movements. I was active within the Austin Music Commission at City Hall and started an initiative that invited other artists to do the same, to begin learning how systems work and, more importantly, how they don't. I've consistently seen how artists are underpaid, unprotected, and overlooked, even as they build the very culture that others profit from. But there is so much potential for transformation. But too often, the artist is left out of the equation in a way that isn't fair, sustainable, or respectful of their value. And honestly, I got tired of watching the people I love, the creatives, the dreamers, get chewed up by a system that was never built for them. So today we are here to gather and talk about a cultural movement that we are starting today with Prosper XO to unite musicians and artists around a shared vision. We're building a new ecosystem that starts by putting artists at the center. Because what we believe, when artists prosper, culture thrives. Listening and learning are core to who we are as people, and that's why when building Prosper XO with the community, or we want to build Prosper XO with the community, not for it. Our first step today is listening to all of you and education. So for those of you that got here, who filled out the icebreaker cards? Amazing. So I wanted to start with opening up, asking if anybody wanted to share why they love music and why it's important to them. Is there anybody here that would like to share? Yeah, awesome.
Music is a universal language bridging the mind and body, person and environment. All species respond to music.
I was also going to comment on the universal language, but I've definitely connected with a lot of people at concerts, music festivals, and no matter what people's backgrounds are, then everyone can kind of enjoy the vibe, like enjoy the music, and just overcome everything.
You want to go?
Yeah.
So I have a different take on music. I love film. So like you can think of like movie scores. If there's no scores, movies don't hit the same way. So like it's not only just limited to musicians, but as well as composers, and just being able to like bridge the gap and give more opportunities is phenomenal. So thank you.
Yeah. Anybody?
I believe that music has a way of connecting us when sometimes we don't have the words to do so. My dad was very shy growing up, and he would speak to me through music, through the Beatles lyrics or different guitar solos, and that was his way of connecting.
Just a comment, I think it shapes memories very well.
Yeah, absolutely. Does anybody else? Anybody else want to say? Anybody else want to share?
I love music because it's a way to express yourself in a palatable way, because sometimes you've got some really intense emotions that aren't very socially acceptable to just say out loud or maybe scream. So for me, music is my outlet of expression to just share how I feel in, I guess, an enjoyable way, and to just release those emotions and to just dance it out and be happy.
So being a musician, music for me was where my soul found freedom. It's how I connected with others and remembered who I am, and it reminded me that I'm not alone. And the beauty of music is that it does connect all of us. And someone said about how it's a universal language. Music is also the first language we understand as humans. And so, Prosper XO exists not to just keep the music playing, but to make sure the people who create it can keep living, working, healing without sacrificing their own survival. So a show of hands. Well, obviously we know we all love music here. Do we all love music here? Are we? Yes. So I guess, well, it already went up, but I was gonna say any guesses last year's global music revenue, but here we are. So this is last year's global revenue for music, 28.6 billion, but yet only 12% reached the artist. The rest has been captured by labels, distributors, and other middlemen. Can we have a guess how many people are paid subscribers on streaming platforms?
Billions, 2 billion.
That's a good guess. That's a really good guess. Any other guesses?
900 million.
Also a good guess. Any last guesses? Okay, so there are 667 million paid subscribers on streaming platforms. And streaming makes up 84% of all recorded music revenue. And only the top 1.4% of artists earn any meaningful income on Spotify. Specifically on Spotify, you have to stream 800,000 streams per month to even make a minimum wage. And only the top 1% of artists will ever see that. Next slide, Joe. So, oh my goodness. I am so nervous, you guys. I need to just talk, like, I need to stop going by script. So, my experience as a musician and being super active in the artist community, I have just seen the artist become completely devalued. And I wanted to find ways to empower the artist. And with Prosper, what we came up with was a framework called ROC, Revenue, Opportunity, Connection, and Control. And we believe artists deserve more of all of those things. And so our first step was to come together and figure out how we can get to this point. Okay, I have to take a break for a second. Sorry. Second, Johnny, can you say something?
Yeah. Hey, I figure like tonight's probably, my name's Johnny. I'm like I stepped up to be like an engineer, CTO of this thing. That's how I'm related with it. I figure the whole point's just to like kind of introduce Prosper and what's going on. And this is kind of the theme of Prosper. I met Lauren like a month and a half ago now. And I've worked with a lot of artists, musicians. You never know how any of that stuff's gonna go. And I was excited about the whole helping out musicians kind of thing. It's been like a project of my own that I wanted to get started like a few years ago, and it's never like been the right time. And meeting her over the last month too, like the kind of like work ethic that she has shown and commitment to the project and ability to like communicate and get people involved and going has, it's been nice. It's increased my confidence in contributing my work in engineering to building this project and devoting time to doing this. And it's only like a month and a half kind of relationship, and it's so far so good kind of thing. I keep looking forward to like seeing what we can make, and through all the people involved here. Now I actually like there's so much community around it that's built like within just a month that I feel like I'm slacking on the engineering side, and it's like even which I think is like a good thing in terms of that kind of relationship there, to be able to like step up. Now it's like, okay, now she's done her part, I can do mine and get this side of things going, and that's kind of where we're at. Don't know where we're going there. Yeah, what's up? Yeah. 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 Part of like helping out this whole thing is that there's like kind of the big idea is like artists are struggling, and what do we do about it? Like it's easy to kind of like build people and community around that mission, but then the question is like what's the answer to that? And the thing that I latched onto when she spoke was the music streaming thing, and that's like a piece that I've like built like beta versions of that kind of application in various forms before. But the thing that like seemed better about this than anything else, and also came to her experience too, was the music streaming thing doesn't like solve like an actual like systemic kind of issue. I think like there's it's just like one way that artists are going to get revenue, but there's other things to do, and it's also not the fastest way to make something happen. And it seemed like the fastest way was, and even better for community itself, is this approach of connecting brands and sponsors to artists and getting like creating the relationship between those people is I think even sturdier and like more stable of a solution than trying to play the same game that everybody's doing with this sort of streaming service option. So like starting there, I think is more effective on like the long run. It seems more accessible in terms of like building out revenue, even like revenue options, like other revenue options for artists right now. Because if you go the streaming route, you're like saying like, okay, we're gonna play the exact same game you've already been doing, and we're gonna like try to game it so that you get 10,000 streams or 800,000 streams, and it's like, what's the difference? Like this poses another option that seems way more accessible and available. So like when talking about this kind of like revenue opportunity piece, it's like revenue is like how the first problem is like just how do you get revenue into artists' pockets. So like the first solution is creating this sort of relationship between brands and sponsors. Opportunity is probably like creating opportunity for artists, and I'm speaking from an artist's perspective. I'm an Austin native, and like I love being in the city and growing up here and with like the possibilities that are here. I've been elsewhere and then came back, not because like everywhere else like was bad or this was the only option. It's like there's choices, and it's like then the choice then is to live in Austin. I speak from artist perspective, but I think then too it's like really good for the brands that live here and are here. Like Tequila 512, meeting them now. Shout out. Thank you guys. They've been awesome. As like Sue over there has been like one-on-one doing a lot of discussion with Lauren. That's been really helpful, and then will be helpful to like designing and developing the end product. But like as much as we like artists, like I like the too like enriching the brands and the businesses and the like companies around Austin. It's like how can we have like more of them? There's like I think in like a social structure there's sort of a centralization problem, and then the solution's always sort of decentralization, where it's like there's like there's like the lower end of things and the higher end of things, and like the money gets divided and there's this big gap, and it's like, well, how do you beef up that piece in the middle? And that's where like people always offer the decentralization solution. I think in this way it's where like creating a good way to like enrich that sort of middle ground and help out a lot of different kinds of companies and businesses and a lot of different kinds of artists, so there's not just the top 5 or a few.
So would you characterize it as like a sustained sponsorship, or like an in between a sponsorship and a label?
I have no idea.
Like Tequila 512, so they have a roster of artists, or how does this play out?
Oh, maybe Sue's got some ideas. My job, I feel like in building the technology is facilitating the relationship, and whether that's going to be sustained or not, like that's going to be up to the two of them. But hopefully we can get people on board and know that like the people who are going through this kind of like the artists coming up through this kind of process are given the tools to create and have better relationships with the brands that they're working with, and then hopefully it works the other way around too. Did you step up? You guys?
Yeah, I was gonna just. It's about time to introduce our first speaker.
Cool.
And we'll have some more time for questions later at the end. Thank you all so much for coming. It means a lot to all of us on the Prosper team. Zealy is an artist and creative director, and he's going to speak to you all a little bit about what he does and share some insights about that. Thank you so much.
Here. I have the questions. Here.
Yeah.
Here. I'm so sorry.
All right. First of all, can we give a round of applause to Lauren Bruno for putting all of this together? This is equivalent to throwing a house party for strangers. So, welcome. So, I'll tell a little bit about myself. Lauren, do you have something you want to share?
No, well, yes. So tonight, we're here to spotlight voices who show us the power of music and creative equity and sustainability. I'm so sorry, I got so nervous. We have been doing so much with Prosper, because here's the thing, we know statistics now, right? 61% of musicians in America live below the poverty line. In Austin alone, 20% of musicians live below the poverty line. We also know that there's a systemic problem with mental health with musicians. And in Austin specifically, 1 out of 3 musicians are saying they're gonna leave the city because there's no sustainability for artists in terms of a business infrastructure. I will say Austin's incredible. Elizabeth McQueen is here from KUTX, and there's so many people that are representing the artist community in a really strong way, but I feel like we don't have a united business infrastructure for artists. So Prosper came about because of, because I wanted to lead to that path. I wanted to figure out solutions that can help artists find more revenue, find more opportunity, find more connection. And the ways I saw that was within the community. Tequila 512 Sue, she sponsored an artist for the $3 show directly. Tequila 512 is a local brand that also has been activating with artists, having them come and rehearse and do podcasts and throw incredible events. And she was someone that really showed me the power and the caring nature of brands, and that our local economy care about artists. But here's the bottom line, right? If artists prosper, culture thrives. And I know that's it sounds like a tagline, but the truth of it, if we take care of our artists, I feel like every other piece will follow. And we want to help every piece, right? But the reality is any systematic change, it starts with education and listening. That's what I wanted to do tonight. I wanted to listen to you all, which we will have the town hall section. I wanted to listen to artist Zeely, who is gonna really speak on a lot of his experience, not only as an artist, but working with brands and finding new and exciting ways to create a career path as an artist. We're gonna talk with Sue, who again has just been so incredible, activating with artists and supporting artists. And then we're gonna hear from some of you. We wanna hear your experience, what's been working for you, what isn't working for you. I do have questions written down, so I'm not gonna get nervous for Zeely. I'm so sorry, you guys, I got nervous. Thank you for being here. We're gonna have Zeely now speak, and yeah. And then there'll be a Q&A after Z, so if you guys want to ask him any questions, we'll open it up for that.
Hello. That's me. That's me. Lauren, you're doing a great job. Thank you for having all of us here and kind of uniting everybody together. And shout out to all of the artists here. Mama Duke, I see you. I see you, Mama Duke. And Heliga was there earlier, Tetro. So there's a lot of amazing talent here in the room, and there's also a lot of amazing leadership in business and technology. And these, I think, are some of the key things that have to be focused on for the future and sustainability of a creative path. My name is Zilly. I'm from Austin, Texas, born and raised. I've spent the last 6 years in the Sunshine State of California, Los Angeles. And I learned quite a bit out there working with brands, working in music, working with major festivals like Coachella, brands like Coca-Cola, international brands like Roland, based in Japan. So there's been a lot of really cool experiences that I've had that have educated me firsthand on what the capability of branding, or I should say, bringing together brands and artists can be, right? I think there's a big gap in knowledge when artists and creatives try to understand how can they sustain their careers, how can they get funding. Is it just record sales? Is it just shows? Is it just streams? And then outside of that, what are the forums that you can make money in to support what you're doing? It's really hard to be an artist. Do my artists agree with that? Yeah, it's tough, right? And when you look at the landscape now, where there's also the additional technology of AI music and other platforms that you could argue are infringing on some of the creative fields that artists have been able to monetize in the past, it becomes a little overbearing. It becomes a little heavy. But fear not, there is a light. It might be Prosper XO. It might be Lauren's dress pattern. I don't know, but it's going to be wonderful. And I've learned a lot from working with Lauren in just the past few weeks. And what brought me and brought my interest to Prosper XO was specifically the point around data. I think a lot of people don't understand that our data is controlled outside of us. We don't own our own data, right? And when you look at Amazon or you look at other digital marketplaces that are able to scrape all of this information from us, it doesn't have to be your name or even your household, but they want to know your patterns, what time of day you're making movements here or there, what people are engaging, watching, are they on the internet or on their phone more, etc. All of these are really important data points when you put them together in one, and they make a profile, and we have no control over that profile, whether it's a civilian or it's an artist. I don't know why I said civilian. We're not in the military, but you get my point. We don't have ownership over that. And guess what? It's one of the highest grossing spaces right now. It is data brokering, right? It's being able to sell data that we should own, or at least have a say in how it's monetized on, or I don't know, maybe get cut in a little bit on that monetization of our own personal data. So where that lies in the space of artists is kind of what brought me to Prosper when I was explained the goal to be able to not only gather data for artists, but then allow them to harness and understand it, to read that data and be able to pitch their value to other brands and other partners. That's the way to monetize. And I think it's beautiful. And so I appreciate you coming up with this, your team who's developing it, Mama Duke for sitting right up here in the front. Well, there's more chairs if anybody wants to come sit down. We'll give you free high fives if you want to come sit down over here. Yeah, it'll be better for the photos. That's right.
Can I ask you some of the questions, Z, too?
Sure. Yeah, I'll come sit down by you.
Okay. Awesome.
Let's just get let's get some warm bodies up here. There we go. Thank you guys. Okay. I'm done. Yeah.
I'm really glad you brought that up because I haven't been able to yet. But something I learned when I started really looking into Spotify and streaming platforms and the statistics around that was that Spotify had full ownership of artists' data, and what they use that for is to incur more revenue in partnership with sponsors and ads, and that trickles down to the labels that they're in partnership with, and it never reaches the artist. And so my thought process on that for Prosper was, let's figure out a way to lead towards more ownership and understanding of our data for the artist, and let's build a system where not only they can understand it, but they can use it in their favor to work with brands. And also there's a legal aspect, right? I think as artists, we have seen so many artists that are not protected, that get ghosted or not paid at a gig. And a big part of what we're doing too is providing a legal aspect that protects the artist. But thank you for mentioning the data point. So I did have some questions for Z, so you can get to know him a little more because he's really just an incredible artist. So Zili, can you paint us the moment you realized music was more than a hobby? Was there a single beat, crowd, or experience that flipped that switch for you?
I would say it's an ongoing experience. I think every time you create something and put it out into the world, it's cool to just have a manifestation of something that's in your mind. I think it kind of speaks to the power of humans being able to create and shift and change the world. And so I would say every birth of some new creation, whether that's music or a video concept, to me always, even to this day, astounds me and makes me excited to do what I do.
Was there someone in your life that helped you keep going with music? Like if other people didn't believe or they told you it wasn't a sustainable career path? And if so, what did they say to you and what stuck with you?
There is one person I can point to in particular, and I've told this story before, but there's a good friend of mine. He passed away years ago, and he was a really huge supporter of what I was doing in the space of music. And at that time, I was just battle rapping, so I was just talking shit to people in different spaces. I was great at it, by the way. But
really good.
But in that process, you know, he was the first one to actually ever get me to do a rap battle. I had zero confidence, but he knew I was good with words, and so he supported me, put me in that space. I won my first like rap battle in high school or something, and that just continued to repeat through college. In college, you know, I lost my friend Trey, but you know that. The last interaction I had with him, he was like, man, I'm really proud of you. I love what you're doing, and I want you to just keep doing exactly this. I didn't know that was the last time I would talk to him, but it was, and that stuck with me. And so to this day, I have a picture frame of this very crew-cut, interesting-looking teenage man who's named Trey, who loves to fly fish, and anytime I feel like I need some motivation, I just look over at that picture.
So your creative evolution is pretty impressive. How do you decide what ideas belong in the Zeely universe and which ones stay on the hard drive?
I used to be more precious about it, but now I don't decide. If I think it's valuable or worth making, I make it. I put it out there, and then the algorithm decides for me.
So can you walk us through your early brand sponsorship work? How did those relationships begin, and why do you think this lane can be a major revenue engine for independent artists and the industry at large?
Yeah, I think my first brand deal was probably with like a liquor brand here in Austin. This is prior to moving out to LA. And shout out to Tequila 512 over there. Thank you guys so much. I don't drink anymore, so also shout out to the mocktail team. What's up?
Sage and Hollow.
So for me, it was a liquor brand because there's a lot of those here in Texas. People like to party here, and so there's a wealth of those brands. And I don't think I really understood it then. I just saw it as, hey, I have overhead for this show. This will help offset some of this, so let's figure this out, right? I think it was as simple as like a banner on stage or something. But when you look at the way that can scale on a much broader level for artists, the picture begins to get much bigger, and the opportunities for both the artists and brands get much larger, right? So you go from having a banner of a whiskey brand on stage to writing the song for the #1 beverage brand in the world for their World Cup commercial, right? There's a lot of value in that, and that's the type of value that seems very nebulous or difficult to navigate towards because there's just not a lot of information, right?
The white space, yeah.
Yeah, it's a gray area, but I think clearing that up, can be done when people understand their data, when they understand their value, right? So if you have, for example, a concentrated community of people that, I don't know, really love cherry soda, and there's a brand that makes cherry soda, like you may not have 1 million followers, but if you have 20,000 qualified cherry soda enthusiasts, then that's a valuable thing to them, right? So I think it's just understanding, like, how do I pitch this to the right people?
What's so incredible too about Austin, I don't know if you guys have seen this, just so many incredible local businesses and so many organizations that want to support artists, which is super inspiring. So Austin's music scene is legendary but changing. What do you think are the biggest gaps or opportunities for artists to prosper locally?
That's a big question. I would say that Austin's been pretty solid in terms of working and connecting with artists and putting them in places to expose them more, to get them paid. To be honest, Mama Duke's probably the best example of this. She's like, yeah, I was going to call you out when you went to the snack table. She is probably, she's definitely one of my favorite creatives, if not, you know what, you are my favorite creative here in Austin right now, period. I'll tell you, I'll give you the flowers. You deserve them. She's, yeah, round of applause for Mama Duke. She's one of the most innovative, inspiring, and always consistently working in a productive manner with major brands. I mean, she works with Austin FC. You did a TED Talk. You did a TED Talk.
What?
You did a TED Talk. And she works with, hotel brands and the city of Austin. Like, so there's so much that is already done here. And I would say it's probably leaps and bounds ahead of some of the other cities that I've been to or seen similar programs. So I do think here it's done really well. So in terms of where's there more opportunity, I think maybe that's a space that Prosper XO is kind of looking to fill. And that is just bridging more brands with more artists. I would say an exemplary program is the one that Austin FC does, and that features like Mama Duke, my good friend Gary Clark Jr., Maylot, like several other artists that have done a lot here in the city. So I think it's pretty good here. Yeah.
If you had to slap a warning label on today's music industry, what would it say? How could a community-built platform help protect emerging artists?
It would say AI is coming.
It's here.
It's here, absolutely. I guess what's one piece of advice you'd give to artists on balancing day jobs and creative careers? Oh, that's another statistic that came from the Austin census, that most artists work 2 to 3 day jobs to have an artistic career. So what piece of advice would you give an artist who's having to balance and also create?
Also a great question. I've struggled with that in the past, right? We've all had to, we've had to find ways to like finance what we love. I don't know how to strike that balance exactly. What I can say is when you love something so much that it doesn't feel like work, when it feels like you're providing a service, not just to yourself, but to your community, to others, it makes the load a bit easier to carry. Also coffee. I drink a lot of coffee. And I think, it's very similar to a startup, or it's very similar to someone trying to do something phenomenal or amazing in life. You are going to bear a larger load than somebody who just does a standard lifestyle. But I think it's worth it. And I think as long as you're checking in with yourself, making sure mentally you're good, physically you're good, and also that you're constantly inspired, then it's worth it.
So last question, and I'd love for you to end on whatever you'd like to say. So fast forward 5 years, what changes do you hope to see in the music industry?
I think more transparency, more equity and fairness in compensation for artists. There's a big disparity between the people that make platforms to share music that do not make music and the people that are actually in their home studios till 4 a.m. creating. A massive disparity. I would like to see that playing field more level. And I think it can happen. I know it can happen. But it takes conversations like this. It takes technology put into the hands of artists. And it takes an understanding of how do I position myself to compete at the highest level, not with other artists, but with big tech.
Amazing, Z. That was a lot of great information. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we open it up for questions, if anyone has questions?
I think that's it. I do want to say that mocktail was delicious. I don't know what you put in it, but it was savory and tangy. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody have any questions for Zeely? Oh.
Hi, for those who don't know me, my name is Audria, and I co-host, soon to host, a long-standing hip-hop program on Co-op called Hip Hop Hooray. And I am sitting here at the snack table because if you don't know, I'm disabled and I need access. So that is my pearl to be a disabled creator and a disabled, community pillar. So I wanted to come to ask what the artists need from us as local journalists.
I think we can both answer. I think you can start. You go first.
Well, what I've seen already and what the local journalists and radio stations are providing for artists are a voice. I think what's happening right now is people aren't hearing artists or even caring to listen to artists. And there's not many platforms open for artists to voice what they need. And so I think right now just being that pillar and that opportunity for artists to have a voice is so powerful.
Yeah, I would second that. I think the work that you're doing specifically is already amazing, and of course, I think continuing to support in that way. And honestly, I think the perspective from you guys at the radio stations would be nice, right? That's kind of a walled garden that a lot of artists don't get to break through and have a full understanding. You know what drives the selection of certain music or certain songs, and at what time they play during the radio programming, right? All of these things I think are super important that surprisingly most artists don't know. So yeah, I think what you guys are doing great, and I would just continue to amplify that.
I have a second part to it real quick. I feel like the argument that I hear a lot is that Austin doesn't have an industry, but I think here is a really great example because you're just starting out, and I think, Lauren, I've known you for so long, so you are really an example of building connections with artists and sustaining that. So it's really great to see artists like Mama Duke, Zeely, Genuine, Angelica, who's here, Elizabeth Nagavali, like that's huge, just being right off the jump. So I think it's important to really capitalize on what we already have here.
Yes, I agree. Exactly. I think we have such a powerful community. Something that I didn't get to mention yet is we just released letters to the global music industry. And thank you for being here, by the way. But I think right now, society as a whole isn't really aware of the realities of the music industry and what artists are facing. So I think number one, as a community, what we can do is uplift this information, right? Because with any systemic change, there has to be education first and listening. So that's why you play such a huge piece and always have within this community, and that's why Austin is the place for something like this, for a major shift. But it starts with spreading the information and really talking about the truth, the facts, the statistics, because no one could turn away from that, right? Because it's the truth. And I think going about it in a way too, artists aren't looking for a handout, right? We're looking to survive and be supported. And you know what? Artists have supported local economies and economy and culture forever, and they will continue to. And I think that's the plea of the artists, right? They will continue to create whether or not we value them more or not. We will. We're all artists. It's in us, right? And so what I say is, why don't we begin to build a path towards more value? And we could do that ourselves as artists, right? But the first step is really letting people know where we're struggling, right, within the industry. And so that's something that would be really helpful, right? And just all of us being here, what I wanted to do with these meetups that we're gonna have every month is just start the conversation around what's happening and how we can go towards a solution all together. And Austin is the right place for that, because there are so many people in this room that are supporting one another and supporting artists already, and just starting the conversation. So yeah.
Can I ask a question real quick? This isn't a profound question. It's just I'm truly your biggest fan, Zealy. This is artist to artist. It's like you do so much shit. You know, you're creating, then you fly here, you have a relationship, and then you do this, and I see you here, you're making cars float and shit on your Instagram.
True. Yeah.
You're tapping into AI, you know. It's like, how do you press the fucking go button on all of it? Like, for artists that are holding on to their babies, I heard you say earlier, like, I used to be a little bit more tight, but now I'm just posting shit and letting the algorithm figure it out. What's the sauce? Just not giving a fuck? Like, help me.
I think that's a great question, and that was something that I struggled with for a long time, and it really is like the art of not giving a fuck, right? Excuse my language. Sorry, I know your kid's here.
It's okay.
But you know, when I graduated from Texas State University, San Marcos. Advertising major, and the most impactful professor I had on me was a woman named Cindy Royal. Amazing professor, and she exposed me to the teachings, and at this time he wasn't who he is now, of Gary Vaynerchuk. And I looked at the format that he had for his success and just really understood the ridiculous passion he had for his product, which at the time was wine. And his success started when he stopped caring so much about what the world reflected back to him about his product. I think that same story is echoed with some of these titans of industry like Jeff Bezos, right? Like, who believed you're gonna sell books online? What? You're doing what, right? All of these ideas, they start somewhere and they might sound crazy. And in fact, I might argue the crazier the idea, maybe the more prolific it will be. But that is only successful when it's paired with the focus and mindset of understanding people may not get this right now. They may not get it ever. But it's not your job to care about how people respond specifically to the art that you're putting out there. You are an artist. You create, you make what feels good and feels enriching to you, and you share it with the world. The world's going to have different perspectives, and I think once you understand that you don't have to be attached to that, then you free yourself. And then you can make cars float and do ridiculous things on social media, etc. It's something I still struggle with daily, to be honest. I'm pretty sure I was talking shit on my Instagram stories earlier, but I think it's important to just do it. It's like muscle memory. It's a left jab. It's a right hook. The more that you do it, the more you train your emotions to care less about the result. And then you just turn into a machine, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you try new things, and you get feedback, and you adjust, and you continue forward. I love everything that you make, so I'm a fan.
Thank you guys so much for all those questions for Z. I want to have time to get to Sue because she's incredible and has so much insight. Thank you, Z, for coming up here and
of course.
Giving so much insight on your journey and who you are. You've always been so inspiring. So thank you for being a part of this. And Zealy, he also directed and edited the video that we just posted to social media. That was all Zealy. So thank you for that. You did a great job on that. We might play that again too, since I had a tough time introducing the whole thing. That it really explains where we're at with Prosper in a really strong way. So thank you, Zealy. I'm gonna ask Sue to come up here. Yeah, give a round of applause, please, for Zealy.
Come on, Sue.
Come on, Sue.
Thank you. Do you want me to start over here or do a quick intro?
Well, whatever you'd like to do. Do a quick intro about who you are.
Cool. Hi, y'all. Thank you so much, and another round of applause for Zealy for his amazing insight. And thank you, Lauren, for all of this. Your passion and dedication is so inspiring, and I am honored that I've been able to partner with Lauren. And as she said, we met because she was looking for some sponsorship for musicians and an event, and it just called to me. But I think there's a bigger reason that Lauren and I connected, because I'm just really excited about what she is offering. I am currently the Director of Operations for Tequila 512, so I also manage and help plan all of the events that happen at our building. But what I was really excited about is that this job is one of many rebrands for myself. And I actually started my career in digital music. I actually worked for one of the very first legal subscription platforms for digital music in Chicago. So way back between 2000 and 2006, I actually managed the team of IT infrastructure and software developers who were some of the first that wrote programming to pay artists off of streaming systems. And I have to tell you, I'm frankly, I won't say the word again because I know the kids here, but very angry to hear that still in today's world, it still works the same. There has not been advancement since those early days of building those royalty payment systems, because as they do today, then the majority was going back to the record labels and the publishers, and the artists barely saw a thing. And I saw the post you did last night about the Worthless album. And if you haven't heard of that or seen it on Lauren's stories, just look up the story of the Worthless album of the gentleman, I can't remember his name, but who did an album that was all streams under 30 seconds, proving that you will make no money if people don't listen that long. So with my past in music and a history of working with artists and creatives, and now being able to support artists in the events that we do with Tequila 512, Lauren and I have spoken for hours, and I'm thrilled to be part of joining her in helping her promote this. Tequila 512 is founded by two gentlemen who are artists themselves, so they understand how this works, and it's important to them as well as a brand to empower the artist. So I'm really excited to be able to have the opportunity to work for a brand that is a local business that understands the power and importance of artists to the culture, and also being someone who provides a venue to be able to partner in this way and help Lauren and all of you in any way to talk about how can we collaborate better so that artists are empowered, creatives are empowered, brands aren't taking advantage of artists, and also just continuing to make the demand to see the respect that artists deserve, and why brands should stop. And brands, record labels, publishers, all of those who try to own everything should give that power back to the artist. So it's really exciting to see this team of people put this together to make it happen. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, thank you, Sue. Can I ask you if you could? Yeah, round of applause for Sue. Round of applause for that. So Sue, what excites you about how brands and artists can work together?
Yeah, I think some of it is showcasing the shift in the dynamic that exists. I think, as we've talked a bit about, brands have often taken advantage of artists and used artists to help them promote. I think what's important in the true, authentic relationships that you're trying to establish and make sure are built is to see how it can be a win-win for everybody, and not to be cliche, but, really making sure that brands can see that there's relationships in this. It's not just about a one-time thing that's going to get a spike in engagement or awareness, or someone who is, going to give them an opportunity at the most opportune time for the brand, but creating relationships. And that's what we're also trying to do as a brand. As we work with people, we continue the relationship. We are going to see the artists and the creatives that are at our events, or the people that we sponsor. We're going to see them over and over and continue to work with them so that we can grow together. And I think that's the key.
So it seems like you have this view, but why do you think it's important to support artists not just as entertainers, but as entrepreneurs and cultural leaders?
Yes, because especially in a city like Austin, and where I'm from, Chicago as well, there's such a depth to what music and artists and creatives bring to the city. The economy of those cities and what the artists and creatives do for that, whether it's just, bands making an impact, creatives making an impact, or huge events and festivals that happen that bring extraordinary economic stimulation to those cities.
I have a statistic around that. South
hear
by
it.
Southwest and ACL brought in $881 million last year, and only 3% of artists saw that.
That's insane.
Austin alone has brought in 1.8 billion from tourism and the creative economy. So yeah, you're talking right to that point.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why it's so important that brands, venues, artists start to do that together, because why does the artist have to live below the poverty line? Those are other extremely disappointing statistics. That shouldn't be the case. Artists are business owners. Artists are entrepreneurs. They should be treated with that same respect, that you are a business. The idea that a brand works with an artist simply to say, we'll give you some exposure, is something that needs to be gone. There needs to be that appreciation. And, you know, while we do a lot of things at our venue that are not necessarily paid events overall, we are always looking for that opportunity of how can we benefit someone. And that might mean, like, currently, a band that is going off on a national tour has been practicing and rehearsing at our space 2 or 3 times a week for the last month, without charging them rent, just so they might hang out at one of our happy hours and play for a bit. And those are the sorts of things that we want to offer. Do you need rehearsal space? We want something from you. We want to entertain and have you do that with us, but what can we give you? Rehearsal space, content production, opportunities to work together at other events as sponsors, and helping those artists grow, because those artists are business owners, they're entrepreneurs, they're part of what's going to build the economy and establish and maintain the culture that Austin is known for.
What would you tell other brands, or what kind of questions would you pose for other bands that were maybe interested in working with artists, but haven't started on that path?
Yeah. I think there's probably a lot of misunderstanding there, because frankly, for me, this job, I started with Tequila 512 in August and really started with the events and working with artists through this year. And it's tapped into a lot of what I did in the past, which has been really exciting, but I had not done that previously in a brand capacity. And I think I'm in a unique opportunity because we also have a venue space to be able to offer what we can. But I think part of that also is the difficulty, right? How do we partner in that way and get creative? And what's really helped me is that many of you might have met Liam, who works at our building, and other people that work together who are already ingrained in the artist community, who can help advise and say, okay, as a brand, we might want this from an artist. We might want this partnership. But I think what's really important that I'm assuming a lot of them don't do is incorporate people who are creatives in that process and say, a brand might say, I want this artist to do this thing to elevate the brand and create this partnership, but do they really know what the artist needs and wants and what is going to help that artist in that process? So I think there's a one-way street a lot in that brand partnership with creatives. So tap into other artists in that community when you sit down at that table so that you know both sides are fair.
So I guess my last question around your experience, you know, you said how you started out within the industry. And I think from that you saw where there was no transparency around the beginnings of streaming. There was no equity offered for artists. And, you know, it kind of just took off, right? In terms of the path of the industry, where do you see the possibility for change?
Well, one, as I mentioned at the beginning, is the artist getting the cut that they're due. Like I said, knowing that what my software developers were building back in 2001 for royalties has not changed today is frankly enraging. That needs to change. And I think that happens with artists like everyone in this room and with you, and what you're building with Prosper is let's demand that ownership. You own your work. You should be paid your worth for that work. And the data that Zealy brought up as well is a huge part of that. And the value, I can tell you, the CEO of the company that I worked for, very smart with respect to data warehousing, business intelligence, went on to sell a business to IBM for $1.2 billion because of data. That's how important that is, and you should own that. So with you offering that platform to empower artists to own their music, own their rights, make their own money as business owners and entrepreneurs, and own their own data and be able to use that for themselves, that value is enormous. And that's where I think the huge change is going to come in.
I want to open up the floor for anybody here. If does anyone have questions for Sue? I feel like you've given so much insight into your experience and you as a brand. I just want to thank Tequila 512. You guys have gone over and beyond to support the artist community, and it's really been so inspiring. Does anybody have any questions for Sue you'd like to ask? Anybody? No questions.
What can artists do to make it easier for operations managers, venue owners, things like that, to discover them and make it easier to book and easier to compensate and things like that? How can we lower the friction in this process?
That's a really great question, because as much as we also seek artists to partner with, I get requests daily about sponsorships, performances, events, etc. And the things that will really, speak to me is I've had a few people come to the table with, a strong package. Here's why I want to work with you. Here's why our brands are in alignment. Our missions work together in this way. Here's what I have done previously with these certain brands, and sharing of a portfolio. And I think that's what's really important to a brand and a business that is doing a lot and going through a lot of submissions and asks, is having that package put together so that it makes it very easy for me, any other venue owner, brand supporter, to see exactly what that artist has to offer and how the brand and the artist align and can work together. And not only for a one-time opportunity, as well as what can this long-term vision look like in partnership together to grow together. So if somebody sends me a message like that and they've got it packaged up, and that also then says to me too, this artist is a business owner and business minded and has done their research, they know what they want, they know what they need, it's going to be a lot easier to have that conversation.
Does anybody else have any other questions for Sue? Was there? No? Nope. Oh.
I just wanted to ask more so to the conversation that, I keep hearing that there's no industry here. But you being a local brand and helping local artists, I think can really disrupt that stereotype or that common phrase. So what is it like for you specifically as a business to help support local artists when you can easily support another mainstream artist that's not from Austin?
Yeah, fortunately, the brand, being an Austin brand, and the founders, the community, the culture is very important. In most things that we do, we're always looking, if we're partnering, we're looking to do that with other local businesses. And I think it's just also so important to make sure that the artist owns their space, has the opportunity to grow, that they have what they need and can grow and build their career and get that expansion. So I think there's a lot of different brands with different perspectives, right? Some are going to look for that already huge artist, and they might have the money to book that and make that happen. But this brand is a very local, community-based brand, and really just has a value and mission of growing the local community, partnering in the local community, and working with those artists that are local to Austin and helping them, not just get in to do something with us in our space, but how can we help them expand and grow with some of the bigger partnerships that we have. So I think I'm just fortunate to work for a brand that local community growth and local growing artists is really important.
Yeah. And there's many brands like you as well.
Yeah.
And there totally is an industry here. What I mean by what I said about that is an end-to-end industry, a business infrastructure where an artist can succeed financially from end to end, right? Austin exists with so many resources. I mean, we are one of the unique cities with places like Ham and Sims. Like, that's what sets us apart. And we have people like you and KUTX and people that want to see artists survive and thrive. But what I mean with the missing industry, it's the business infrastructure. And here's the thing, there's so many artists that are trying to equip themselves with the education around business and marketing and what the next steps are, right? But I feel like Austin and all cities should do a better job helping build that infrastructure, those resources, put more money into that education, that mentorship, and fulfill more paths towards a more sustainable end-to-end career, right? But I think Austin is full of so much resource and so much support and so much industry, for sure, absolutely. You know, it's just about figuring out how do we connect all of these dots to where it becomes more sustainable. So Sue, do you want to say anything else?
I think I would just say to the point that you were just sharing is that's why this is so important, right? You see a lot of things in entrepreneurship of businesses that there's networking, there's connecting, and people helping each other grow those aspects of their business. And it may just because I'm not as ingrained in it, but I don't know that there is a lot of networking group organizations where people are working with artists to say, you're a badass musician, but do you understand the law behind the contracts you're signing? Do you understand the best ways of marketing, or all of the different things that it takes? And I mean, you go back in history, there's artists even like Billy Joel who lost millions and millions of dollars because he trusted an accountant, right? You don't see a lot of, as far as I know, the business education and legal education, and I think that's another key part of the artists owning their own brand, owning what they're doing, owning their own business, and keeping that sustainability is continuing to make sure, just like lawyers don't get educated on certain things and they want to run a law firm, they need to learn those other components of running a business. And I think that's something that bringing people like this together, you all have these different skills, different things to learn from each other, and can make that happen together.
Thank you, Sue. Can you give a round of applause for Sue? Woo! Thank you so much, Sue. That was amazing. I wanted to bring up, Johnny came up here when I couldn't speak. So you met Johnny, but I wanted to bring up the team of Prosper right now, Johnny, David, Devin, and Joseph, and just introduce you. So essentially, I wanted a path to empower artists, right? But we are all artists. So, Joseph, I approached. Joseph has been in the artist community and so active. He worked with Transmission Events. He is a graphic designer and artist himself, but also has been really involved in the tech side of things and building big, beautiful websites, and you could talk more on that. And then Johnny, he's a full stack developer and he's building apps, but he is an artist himself. His grandparents owned a community-owned dance hall where everybody paid a part of it, and got a share of that insurance when it actually apparently blew up, I guess. But everybody got a share of that insurance because they all pitched in to build that. And his dad is actually a magician, and he grew up seeing his dad build a business around his art. He did get into technology, but he is an artist and a performer as well. David I met as an artist and a performer, but he has really been championing syncing and licensing and how important that is and how important royalties. But he is also a full stack developer in technology. And Devin, he is the projectionist at Dada Lab and does projection mapping and is just an incredible artist and a classical guitarist, and also in technology. And I'm introducing you. Do you guys want to say anything, by the way? Do you want to say anything? Do you want to see it, things, Joe? No? No?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just wanted to say thank you, everyone, again, for coming. We really appreciate it. Yeah, anybody else?
I don't know what we're doing here, but like right now, or the theme of this, but I'm down to talking about any of this stuff, yeah.
So essentially why I called you guys up here is I wanted you guys to meet the team behind the technology that we're moving towards, right? Here's the thing, the technology that we haven't gotten too deep into yet, right, is a tool. But Prosper, to me and to us, is more about a movement, right? A tool is one thing, right? But there's a lot of steps that we can take towards education and mentorship and connecting the resources and connecting as artists under a united vision, right? And I wanted you to meet everybody and see the team behind what Prosper is right now, and Zeely's also a part of that, and know that we are all artists, right? And so this last part of this meetup was a town hall section that I wanted to open up the floor to anybody to talk about your experience, what's working for you, what isn't working, and yeah, I think again, what's really important about this is listening and educating. And so yeah, I just wanted to introduce you to everybody a part of Prosper and the next steps of Prosper. So yeah, yay. So yeah, I did want to open up the floor to anybody if they wanted to say anything or talk on anything, really, your experience, what you would like to see, not just with Prosper, but just within the community and the industry. Does anybody want to get up and say anything? Any insight about your experience as an artist? Amadou? No? Oh, yeah? Okay.
Hey, I just want to say that I really appreciate what y'all are doing. I really appreciate you taking the initiative to get this started. And I really hope that through Prosper that we can foster a community of collaboration and a community of lifting each other up rather than competing or cutting each other down all the time. It's really important that we work together to make this dream a reality.
Yep.
I'm going to piggyback off that. Hi, everyone. I'm Genuine. I am a local Latin pop artist. Thank y'all. And yeah, just I moved to Austin about a little over almost 4 years ago. And I grew up in band, drama, and choir. So I was like, I feel like I kind of raised myself and put myself in that situation to eventually be an artist. But back then I didn't know that. And then slowly, like, just being in love with music, putting myself in those scenes, I've come to meet a lot of people who have helped to kind of brighten the path for me, like to show me resources like Ham, to introduce me to different radio stations and all those things that I never thought were attainable as just an artist. And a lot of times, like, we artists, independent artists, don't get that respect because, oh, you don't have a manager, oh, you don't have this and that. And it's like, I feel like all we really need is a dream and the work ethic to, keep going and that consistency. And I know there's probably a lot of artists in this room who, like, it's that consistency that is probably even more valuable than money itself, and that work ethic and just having a mission behind why you even do music in the first place. And I said at the beginning, expression for me is a huge one. And I hope that I would like to also see more collaboration. I started off, definitely got scammed, did a lot of pay-to-play stuff. I've been there, and now as I'm getting older and growing, I'm seeing my value. which is not something that like we don't get a rule book for this. Like everyone in this room, like, you know, is doing what they think is going to be the best them that they can be in this industry. So I hope that we as artists, individuals, can continue to collaborate with each other and brands to just expand that community. And just to tag myself in here, I'll be hosting a music and entertainment industry mixer tomorrow at Tequila 512. So shout out again to Tequila 512 for helping make that happen. It's only 50 spots. It is on Posh. If you'd like to attend, please let me know, and I can try to see if I can sneak you in there. But I do want to respect the venue's capacity and the laws and stuff. But I hope, like, this is like, who am I, you know? In a way, like, who am I? But it's growing and finding your value through those hard things is what will help us to grow as a community. As if us individuals can find our value and share it with each other, I think that's how we're gonna boom the industry even more here. So, thank you.
Is it Lassie? Hello, my name is Jocelyn. I'm a good friend of Lauren's, and we met through film. I work in film, and that's actually how we met here at Capitol Factory during a film meetup. But I just want to take this opportunity to just a shout out to her as an artist, but a multifaceted artist, not just in music, but in film. Her mission to help the community. When we were in that meetup, what stood out to me, I saw her from across the room, not just her cool haircut. She was the girl raising her hand saying, but how are we going to protect filmmakers? How are we going to get people contracts? How are we going to get people paid and representation in the industry? So that always stood out to me. Her as a person and as a friend, that's her goal, is to always help people and help people reach their goals, and most importantly, protect artists. So in that world and this one, I know that you will succeed, and I really, really hope to see Prosper succeed and see artists succeed, but also be protected with their art and have ownership, and how to write up a contract, how to make sure you can get paid after a gig, because, like you said, Genuine, there are no rules, and I got burned in my early days, not signing a contract or someone ripping me off or whatever. So, anywho, that kind of stuff is really important because there are no rules. But having people like Lauren and her team in our community is what really sets us apart. Being able to have people vouching for our security and ownership. So, yeah, just a shout out.
Yeah, I have, I hear the artists talking and can speak from different perspectives, and some of my concern from the artist side of the brain is that there's the discussion about I guess my goal going into this, and I think the point of technology, and even say the threat of AI possibly, is that I think the goal ought to be how to preserve the eccentricities of the individual, and in this setting, it's the artist. And so the point of building out Prosper and the technology of Prosper is not to ask an artist to wear more hats. It's creating a technology that allows them to interface better with the ecosystem that sets them up with revenue opportunities, and that's what needs to be created, and then the technology built and designed in such a way that doesn't ask more from artists and makes the life easier to interface with that. That's my goal going into this.
Hey, I'm Jonathan. Thanks for putting this together. I'm probably one of the few on the industry side in this room, so interesting to kind of be here. And I think it's important that we avoid us versus them, artists versus industry kind of mindset too. So just a plug for that. I work mostly on the live side, so a lot of these problems we're talking about are in the recorded space, I think, but the live side is interesting because it's literally the exact same size as the recorded industry. So you put 28 billion up there, the live is the same size. So artists in the room don't sleep on the live side of the business. There's always money to be made there, and in fact, I would argue way more money to be made as a smaller artist in the live side. I think what I want to say is I'm still trying to find how the heck to make my way, you know, and like make a living on this sort of dream. Like for me, a big also band nerd growing up, so that's sort of my connection, and you know, went a different path like into business, and now I'm back into music. And so I find this very interesting, this idea of like connecting, you know, artists with sponsorship dollars. I think that's, correct me if I'm wrong, that's the goal of what you perhaps haven't built yet, but what you want to build. And I would like to shout out to a company in Frisco called Music Audience Exchange. If you haven't heard of that, it's mostly like for, you know, Alan Jackson's and Ford Motor Companies of the world, but they do this exact same thing where they connect, their platform just connects those two sides of the marketplace. So they might be an interesting thing to kind of look at. And hopefully there's a way to do it at like this scale, like indie kind of scale, because I don't know how that really works, other than, like Sue was saying, you just have a good pitch, which is super important. So we'd love to talk to everyone further, and yeah, thanks for putting this on.
So thank you for everybody, and you're inspiring. I mean, genuine, also thank you for mentioning that, because I think it's so important that artists remain strong within the value they have to offer without anything attached, right? Because we are so valuable and give so much to culture, society, and ourselves. So I'd like to say that. And also in terms of the venue, and you know, every part of the industry is suffering in its own way right now, right? And we are very aware of that. The industry as a whole, and I'm not talking specifically about Austin, right? Globally, is broken, right? And so for me and our team in general, it's figuring out ways, what are step-by-step transformations we can take, but with a long-term goal of everybody prospering, right? In the tech world, when you're building a startup, I get really excited about this because I didn't even know this, you know. For example, Airbnb, right? Their first technology connected people with airbeds in people's houses. There was no payment system. It was just for conferences, right? And so in the world of startup, they tell you to solve one problem with your minimum viable product, the first build of the technology, right? And so I had this big puzzle. We had this big puzzle to think about, right? Because there's so much that's going wrong right now. But we had to figure out where to start that would not only place the artist at the center, but also support the artist beyond themselves, right? And the way to start with that, what made sense was seeing what was already happening, seeing what was already working, what was bringing revenue to the artist. And from the same account, what is working for the artist? That's something we really care about, which is why we want these conversations started. And we want to hear about what is working, right? And we do know that live music and performance and touring, it is working. But you know what? I heard of, was it Kate Nash or you know, there are even artists at a major level right now struggling in debt, right? Because streaming and labels, they have us somewhat in a chokehold, right? So it's really about figuring out ways, how can we empower artists ourselves? Within that, you know, we have a phase 5 plan, right? Phase 1 is empower the artist, right? But next we want to empower the venue, right? And the fan, because the fans are also struggling too. There's a lack of connection and authenticity, and also just opportunity to support the artist directly, right? And so I guess to answer around that, like, I think it's incredible. Or do you work in the live industry? Is that... Thank you so much for what you do, and it's so important. And we really want to find ways help everybody prosper, but we have to start from the beginning. And so I wanted to go over real quick before we end the ethos that we put together, which kind of talks on where we're coming from as Prosper. So artists first. So we exist to empower artists, not extract from them. Every decision we make begins with one question: does this truly serve the artist? Radical transparency, no smoke, no mirrors. We believe in clarity around data, contracts, payment, and opportunity. Trust is built when nothing is hidden. Equity in action. We don't just uplift a few, we design systems that redistribute access, visibility, and value to the overlooked, the emerging, and the community rooted. Sustainability over stardom, and this is an important one. We reject the starving artist myth. Prosper XO is about long-term creative careers, not fleeting virality. And then data is power, and it belongs to the artist. We help artists see their value in numbers and story, what platforms have hidden. We return with tools that transform data into freedom. So, I also wanted to utilize these meetups too in the future as education and mentorship. And so the next one, I would love to dive deeper into data and that discussion and learning more about that. I do have a printout, so when you leave, if you'd like to look at it around what Spotify actually controls and what they're doing with it in detail, and how you can empower yourself right now, with or without Prosper, or just as an artist, ways that you can empower yourself. Because right now, Spotify really does have control of all of our data, and they didn't ask us if we were okay with that. And they knew that, we weren't going to understand certain aspects of that. I mean, and all of us do it, right? We all sign the terms of use. We all give away a certain amount of our data, right? But we don't sign that thinking that we're going to be taken advantage of, certainly as artists, right? And so really at the base of what we want to do is build an artist-first centered platform. And so many of these platforms are consumer first, right? And so yeah. Thank you guys so much for being here, for being a part of the conversation. Again, I'm sorry about really getting nervous at the beginning. This is a big thing to talk about, and it's just the beginning, and there's a lot of collaboration and conversation and next steps. In terms of Prosper and what you can do next, we have released surveys. I hate calling them that, bids for connection, right? And in these bids for connection are questions about your experience, right? What is working? What platforms are working? What ways are you making revenue? And what you would like to see, not only within Prosper, but also within the industry and those experiences. So if you'd like, there's a QR code. I think Joseph's going to put it up. Or you could visit prosperxo.com as well. Those surveys live there. Also, we have letters to the global industry and the Austin industry. They will be shareable really soon. But you can email us and I can send you a copy if you'd like to have those. But please share those as well, because I think a great first step, a sustainable first step, is just starting to share the information around the realities of where the industry is at. That's where we can start, right? We can start putting a narrative to our experience, and we're going to do as much as we can to do that too. But I think these conversations are a great first step. And in the meantime too, we're gonna start building. So we're excited. But anyway, do you have any questions for me or for any of our team in general, or any suggestions of how you'd like to see the next meetups look, or anything you'd like to say? Yes. So they're going to be the second Wednesday of every month here. at Capital Factory, which, by the way, Capital Factory is amazing. On Tuesdays, they have free co-working from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on the 5th floor, so anybody could come. And then every day, they have multiple networking events. You just join the newsletter, and you can find out about all of those networking events. When I first came back, so my friend Jossie said I had come here for the film. That was in, 2014 or something? A long time ago, yeah. I came back this first time and I did the tour with Aaron, who's over here. Aaron is actually, you want to come here, Aaron? He's incredible. So I came here, did a tour. I did it with someone who was inventing an alternative shower curtain. So there are all types of entrepreneurs and people looking to create. And maybe Aaron could talk more on Capital Factory since you're here. Oh, you've got
it's a bomb shower curtain, by the way. It literally cleans you. No, it doesn't do that. Geez, I mean, Capital Factory, it's, aside from being a VC, we have 750 active companies in the portfolio. Industry agnostic, tech, cybersecurity, health, a lot of health. We have a tequila brand. Come to that meetup, tech and tequila. And we're a co-working space. So everybody in here is a founder, a solopreneur, an entrepreneur. We know what it's like. We know what it's going through. My first startup was an art marketplace, so I know what that's like. My background is in content production and artistry for Apple. That's what I did before my startup journey. Every artwork has a moment when you look at it and you go, hey, that's done. My recent media has been companies. So I love helping people build their companies. I'd never want to run one. I learned that about myself. So here I get to help founders like Lauren and others come in and get their project off the ground. And then I watch you sail away on the ship I helped you build, and that's all I wanted to do in the first place. Mm-hmm. I'll stay on the shore where it's safe. But yeah, love being here, love helping connect people to who they need to meet to get their projects going, and happy to have you all here on Tuesdays, networking, come to as many events as you can. There were 4 events happening at the same time as this one, so there's always something to do here, and you'd be welcomed. Be happy to connect anytime. And if you're an artist and you use a Mac, then you understand the Command Z tattoo on my wrist. So you get it, love it, great. Thanks, Lauren.
Yeah. Can you just say one more? Can you say the mission of Capital Factory? What's your mission here as an organization?
Essentially, it's to, I'll say, empower founders. That's like number one. The thesis behind our investment strategy is, say you have a $10 million fund to invest in startups, you're giving $100,000 to 100 founders instead of $1 million to 10 founders, because you're giving more opportunity to more people, first of all, and 95% of startups don't pay you back. They fail. That's just the math behind it. 4 of them might pay you back, and 1 of them helped pay for everyone and becomes Uber, becomes Airbnb. So our general philosophy is create an environment that's cool and inspiring and has the network and has the resources and has the mentorship and everything you could possibly need outside of your own grit and your own resilience and your own ideas. I think that's about it.
Yeah. So you would say you're a business infrastructure end to end towards success, right?
For anyone, I would say, like, we have a lot of companies that come out of academia and they're brilliant researchers who are trying to cure Alzheimer's. They don't know jack shit about business. So you come here and you find the people that know business. You find the mentors that know that side and connect you with the right people to help grow your team. A company, by every definition, is a group of people, and we help get idea to group of people to everyone.
Well, thank you, Erin. Thank you for having us here. I hope you guys all come back to the next meetup, but also stop by Tuesdays. Capital Factory has been so inspiring and supportive, and there's so many artists a part of their team. It's really incredible. Thank you, Tequila 512, for providing drinks. Sage and Hollow, really appreciate it. We have to be out of here by 8:30, so you guys feel free to enjoy more drinks, more networking. If you have any questions for any of us about anything, please come up to us. And thank you so much, and thank you for sticking around and being patient with me and listening. And thank you so much to Zeely and Sue for also being guest speakers. It was really incredible. We're so honored to have you here. Thank you for taking time out of your schedules to be here. So thank you. And thank you to the Prosper team for making this happen. Couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much.
during that class, we were at a lot like 4 in a row. And it's like, don't have an agent, don't have a headshot. I've taken 4 or 5 classes, but you always get interrupted with something like clothing, a certain job. I don't work anymore, so I retired. I'm like, all right, now I have a family. I have a family to do this now. So I don't know what I can do. But maybe let's start a class to help figure that out. That's kind of what I'm gathering from, which apparently we didn't get a lot of. We just have to be used to it. Yeah, you get, push it aside rejected. You just take that as a sort of job. Right. I heard the coolest thing once from Michael Keaton. And he was talking about this early on in his career. He says, you know what? I started to get bummed out. And then I started realizing when I go to my business, that is the job. You're working today. You may not get paid, you may not get hired, but I'm working today. And once you start changing his mindset, people start picking it up. It's just another energy. Yeah, it's just an energy, That's what you just say today, your job every day, I'm working today. That's my energy, that is work. And when you keep yeah, you're right. I think I start, I look at those backstage emails, I'm like,
It's like, how do you even begin that discussion? And that's
So anyway,